welcome to the Deal Finder Corner. So this is your weekly property talk show brought to you by Property Filter, hosted by myself, Guillaume Black, your favorite Frenchman, CEO and co-founder at Property Filter. This is the UK's highest rated platform to find deals. And we are on a mission to empower our property investor and deal sourcer members to find 1,000 deals in the next 12 months, thanks to the Property Filter blueprint. So the purpose with this Deal Finder Corner is to give you more and the best of the available resources, inviting expert guests who will share with you the latest and most current strategies, tactics, and secrets about what actually works right now in terms of finding and making deals and the reality of systemizing and running a high-performance business in property. So it really is my pleasure to introduce you to Kevin Whelan on today's Deal Finder Corner. So Kevin is an economist, author, the founder of Wealth Builders, and one of the UK's leading experts and authorities on SaaS pensions. So these are the small self-administered scheme. He's an articulate and insightful speaker for print, audio, television, media outlets on the subject of financial independence for business owners and ambitious employees. He's also passionate about improving financial literacy for our children. Kevin and Wealth Builders have and are on a mission to help 50,000 families completely transform their wealth and become financially independent. He has a track record in helping business owners create streams of recurring income, both inside and outside their companies, and assisting employees jump off the corporate treadmill. Kevin also has a degree in economics from Leeds University and has been the director of Kingswood Law Partnerships from 1988 and Kingswood Law Independent Financial Advisor from 2006 until today. So what you can expect from today's episode. So Kevin will cover how you can access new sources of funding for your property deals, why diversification is key and what is an appropriate diversification, how to be a great money role model for your kids and the younger generation, followed by an exclusive Q&A. I'm very much looking forward to hearing more about Kevin's talk today. So please give a massive Property Filter virtual welcome to Mr. Kevin Whelan.
Well, thank you very much. I'm exhausted, Guillaume. I'm tired. Anybody would think I was old.
1988, Kevin, was it before or after November?
It was the 18th of August, 1980.
Right. So I came to this world a couple of months later. So yeah.
Right. So I've been on a wealth building journey since 1989. Basically because my father died when he was 46. He was a business owner, but the business went when he went, and made the decision in 89 when he died just a few years before, because we were cut from the same genetic cloth, let's say, Guillaume. We looked the same, walked the same, talked the same. I had to do something, because if I didn't make into my 50s, which I have done, of course, just look at the face, wizened expression now. I didn't think I could really provide enough wealth for my family with an economics degree, being an economist, saving money from a job. So made the decision in 1989 never to trade time for money again. And I haven't. I've never done a day's work in my life. Everything that I've done is about how to grow and build assets, because assets put cash flow into your life. And I've taught, been independent now for many, many years, and have been teaching it for about 20. So hopefully I'll share some of that with you. Maybe if it's okay with you, Guillaume, I'll maybe share about sort of 20 minutes worth of a sort of a scene setting presentation. And then that will open the door for the erudite questions that I'm sure your audience will be willing to ask. So are you okay to?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, we like to ask questions, so that's perfect. Thanks so much.
So if you can see that, then quick thumbs up, just so I know I'm not sharing with you anything else. If you're involved in a community such as Property Filter, then you've made a decision somewhere in your life to use property as a primary way of building wealth. And as you can see from the Wealth Builders logo there, which is a foundation, 7 pillars, and a roof, one of those pillars, pillar number 4 of 7, is property. And there are around 20 or so property strategies. And while I'm not going to go into property, what I will do is go into an important part of property, which is the funding. Because whoever you are, wherever you live in the UK or beyond, you're going to run out of money before you run out of ambition. That's been my experience. And over the years then, I work very much with property owners to show them how they can create new ways to access money, sometimes risk-free, tax-free, and interest-free. So if you can get access to money on those terms, it would be good to know about that. And we know if we're building property as a strategy, we want sustainable funding. But the market isn't always sustainable. So we've seen, look, how many people are going to be struggling with fixed rates when they come to an end or coming to an end, when they see that difference between the 1% of several years ago to the much higher rates now. I'm sure some of you in the room will be feeling that pain somewhere down the line. Banks are making more money. If you're into commercial or commercial to residential, you'll know the funding has become so tight now. It's really, really tricky. So if you have less control, then you've got less control over your wealth. And I think it's just as important, as well as, we know Guillaume's a master with Property Filter, and I applaud you for all the good work you're doing in Property Filter. But that's finding. Finding properties, really critical skill. There are 7 F's in property. I'll just talk about the 2 for the moment, the finding and the funding. But there's a lot of good work and a lot of good people out there showing you how to find deals, but not so much on the funding other than the conventional of funding through mortgage brokers or through bridging companies and the like. But there are definitely different ways that you can fund which will cost you less, more enjoyable, and right under your nose, that often you don't know it's there. So just before I share that with you, I'll share with you just a few moments about me as the founder of Wealth Builders on the journey since '89. So thanks for doing some research, Guillaume. Not that many people have found me going back that far. But more often than not in the property space, so when I get involved in property, it's more about the funding side. So I'm not really an aggressive property owner, but I'm very much a funder, and I've funded probably several hundred joint ventures now. So I know more about joint ventures than most people, and I can also show you, if we get time, how to make yourself completely irresistible to private investors. It's a real skill, and I'll definitely cover onto that. Now, I am an author, so I've written 3 books. One in 2004, which is 10th anniversary coming up, which was the first book, Save a Fortune. The second book, called The 7 Pillars of Wealth. I'll touch on that very briefly today. For business owners, and I work a lot with business owners who are trying to sell their business. So I'm an expert in things like EOTs or employee ownership trusts, how you can get all the money from the sale of the business tax-free. So that's some of the work that I do. So I'm a sort of a financial GP, so to speak, and I call on experts when I need to do so. Other thing, I love to speak on stage about things I'm passionate about. I've got a podcast called Wealth Talk, and my current passion is financial literacy for children. And I've created a program for parents and grandparents who want to be the best possible money role model they can be. And I've launched that, and we've got 100 families going through that at the moment. And we're doing that as a sort of a test launch. And then we'll be inviting another 100 families to join in January. But that's all about being the best you can be, because so many of our children, do you know the average life expectancy of children born today, Guillaume? 100 years old. Now that sounds great, doesn't it? Average life expectancy moving to 100. But what does that mean if you don't know how to fund a life that's that long? It means you're going to be working until you're 80. That's not such good news. So the process of building wealth then, and then passing that on, what I call passing on the baton with wisdom. So it's not just what you leave the next generation, it's what you leave within them that counts, is an important part of the work that I share. Anyway, let's get to you guys and getting your funding. So I'm going to share with you one of the most overlooked, absolutely undervalued. Everywhere I look, there's terrible, terrible outcomes which can be changed. And it's your pension. And if you don't have one, don't shut down and go make a cup of tea. It's other people's pensions. There's so much lost money. It's £2.5 trillion worth of money, which is more noughts than you can shake a stick at. And although much of the work I do is an IFA, you mentioned I have an IFA business, Guillaume, and I do, so I'm a qualified IFA for my sins. But my focus as an IFA is always to just reduce costs. What's the lowest cost you can have to run your pension? Because in this country, most people are paying 2%. And an average return of 6%, it means, well, you've got a joint venture right there. You're paying a third of your money to somebody else. I don't believe that's right. I don't believe that's fair. So everything I do in my business, I won't be talking about that today so much, is about driving those costs because it's the only thing you can control. But we're not talking about the stock market, we're talking about property. And the best thing I discovered, which was around 2009, although it's been going since 1973, is the small self-administered scheme. Now, SAS for short, but it's weird language, isn't it? But let's agree that, unlike Guillaume, who had to learn English, when you learn wealth, you speak a new language. You speak the language of buy-to-let, HMO, Com-to-Resi, Article 4. You speak a different language. So this is language that I would definitely ask you to add to your vocabulary. The small self-administered scheme. What does it mean? It means instead of trusting a third party, an insurance company, an advisory firm to run your pension, you can run it and own it yourself. Now, I don't mean you have to be a pensions lawyer. It means you make the decision, just like you do with having a limited company or a property building business. You choose to be in charge of your own destiny. Now, I discovered this, as I said, in 2009. What happened to me is a salutary lesson. I was doing a commercial to residential conversion using my SIP, self-invested personal pension. I had a SIP then. And the thing to know about a SIP is somebody else is in control. And the controlling company, who shall remain nameless, but I spit every time I hear their name, so I don't mention them now. They said to me, Kevin, we know you know what you're doing. We're going to let you use your money to do a commercial to residential conversion. Excellent. Guess what happened? We've changed our mind. We are not going to let you use your pension to do that. Hold on. You told me you would. Yeah, we changed our mind. Yeah, but I've committed. We changed our mind. I vowed then never to let anybody tell me what to do with my pension ever again. Now, I've got way over £1 million in my pension, but that's because I know how to grow it by me using the money in my way through a SAS. Small means less than 12 people. There's a funny little loophole in the law that says if less than 12 people are a member of the pension, it's called small and it's got different rules. And those differences are huge, and I'm going to share with you some of those rules, some of those benefits in a moment. Self-administered means making your own decisions, and scheme is just another word for pension in the UK. So a scheme that you and your family can run and invest in things that you want to do. And very briefly, 3 strategies very quickly. Buy, bridge, and borrow. There are 7, but I'm just going to share with you 3. The buy strategy is when you use the money in your pension to buy an asset. So you can buy a commercial property. You could do a commercial to residential property. You could buy serviced accommodation. You could buy an old bed and breakfast. You could buy a barn and convert it. Buy a school and convert it. Buy a church and convert it. You getting the idea? If you can convert it, you can buy it. And you can borrow money from a bank as well. So if you've got 200,000 in your pension, you can borrow another 100. You've now got 300,000 pounds of buying power. But because you can have up to 11 people, well, 11, no more than 12, so up to 11, you can pool and combine money. So you can have husband and wife join together, business directors join together, siblings together, members of communities can work together, and they can pool their money to get a bigger bang for their buck, and therefore they control that money. Now, I'm sure somebody's going to ask me about the buy strategy in due course. The bridge strategy is you become a bank. Bank of Kev, Guillaume. So my Bank of Kev means I can lend my money to who? To whoever I want. So Mayura, if you become irresistible to private investors, I could lend to you. I could lend to Kirsten. I could lend to Romania. I could lend to anybody in this room, because whose money is it? Bank of Kev. So I'm going to teach you how to be Bank of You, so you can lend your money to whoever you want to. And by the way, if some people in this room, Guillaume, like each other, and that's a possibility, I guess. So, one person could lend to another, one person could lend to another, one person could lend to another, one person could lend to another. So you can lend your money. Now, of course, apply the same due diligence as you would as a bank. But if you do that, you can take whatever security you want, and I do that, and frequently get a much higher return with less risk than putting my money into the stock market. And finally, in at least the three I'll share with you, the borrow strategy is whatever money you have in your pension, and if you combine that money, then you can lend half of that to yourself. So you can lend it to your company. Now, what that really means then is you can lend money from your pension to yourself, and you could use that money to build your own wealth, rather than assume that it's going to build the wealth of when you get old and grey like me. So you can access the money today, build your income today, get more rental income today. You don't have to push it till you're 57, which will be the new age where pensions become available from 2028. So what can be transferred in to create a SAS? Pretty much any personal pension, pretty much any workplace pension, a SIP like I had before, you can do SIP to SAS. And even if you are in your 50s and you're drawing money from your pension, you can move that money to a SAS as well. And we have created a training suite, a CPD training suite, to teach people how to do this. And in the last 2 years, Wealth Builder clients, Wealth Builder SAS clients, have won the Property Investor Awards for the best use of SAS in the UK. We are masters of this, and if you want to know how to at least master the art of your pension, I would definitely suggest you write down SAS as language you want to learn and understand. What you can't do, though, is public sector schemes, right? If you're a doctor or a dentist, you can't move those, just not allowed. Government doesn't allow them to be moved. Basically, there's no money. If you know somebody like your parents who've got an annuity, can't move them. And most final salary schemes, I would say, are amber, can be moved, but after a bit of discussion and a bit of preparation. So that's at least a brief summary of SAS, and hopefully we'll talk a bit more about that, Guillaume, in the Q&A. Now, Guillaume, I need you to help me here. So I'm now going to share with you the 7 and only 7 ways that you can build wealth. And I need you to get the wisdom of your group and see if you can work out what they are.
Awesome.
Now, the reason why I'm sharing this with you is so that you see that as you build your wealth, it's really important to think about how you diversify, not just inside property, but outside of property. Because if one thing is working, if one market's working, another market's working a different way. So the more you can open your mind to the breadth of where wealth comes from, the more you become a wealth creator, a value creator, what I call a wealth builder. And also, if you're raising children, they may not be as interested in property as you are. They may be interested in other ways of creating recurring income. So there are 7 ways to create recurring income. Most people who are not wealthy use 3, and they are the 3 on the right-hand side, the red, the yellow, and the green. And the 4 on the left-hand side, I call the entrepreneurial pillars. If you remember, I used the word pillar as a description of one of the 7 ways to build wealth. So Guillaume, help me. What do your participants...
Yeah, Tim, so this is your time to shine. So there's seven suggestions here with little icons. So what do you think are the 7 ways you can diversify and build your wealth, and having them complement each other, de-risk each other, and yeah, can we make it to the 7 between the 70 plus of us on the call today? Let's have a look.
You should. I'd be shocked if you didn't. You'll certainly get 6.
Awesome. So it's coming through the chat.
Yeah.
So you want me to go through? You want me to go through these, Kevin?
Yeah, I'll tell you if they're there. Just go. Yeah, got that one.
Yeah. Okay. So let me go back from the start. So we got stock market.
Yeah, we got that one. That's a number 3. We'll come on to that. Yeah.
Intellectual property and patent.
Oh, you got that one. Oh, okay,
yeah.
That's number 6.
Yeah, that's a very good find. Yeah, stock market again. Gold.
No.
I think the clue was in the recurring income.
Recurring income.
Yeah.
Gold does not generate recurring income. It's a hedge on your money. So gold is not a recurring income asset.
Property investing.
Number 4.
Yeah. Royalties.
That's from IP, but
I think that's from IP as well.
Just Guillaume, just do me a favor. Just say that word again there. Go on, say it again. Say it again.
Royalties.
Oh, royalty. Doesn't it sound great? You can earn royalties. Well, you can earn royalties from the intellectual property that you repackage, repurpose, and refine to then create the ability for other people, just as you're doing, Guillaume. You're creating a royalty-based income from Property Filter, and fair play to you for doing that. Any more?
I've got business.
Yeah. So you're only missing 1.
Yeah. So we've covered most of these.
Well, let's reveal them. So thank you for participating, but in no particular order, except in terms of preference, but just in terms of the sequence. We've got the value of your own home and how you could create an income from that. We're not going to talk about them in any detail. Pensions, and the fact that pensions are a source of recurring revenue, but more often than not, I'm encouraging people to turn their yellow pension into blue, green, purple, and pink. So move their pension to other things, and investing in the stock market through ISAs and other things. And most people have got that. But if you rely on those 3 alone, 95% of the population in the UK and the US never become financially independent, because there's not enough value creation there. You've got the uncertainty of stock market, and you've got the underperformance that almost always happens when your eye gets taken off the ball. But when you focus and you create a portfolio of property generating rental income, a portfolio of businesses generating 4 types of recurring income inside a business, or whether you're creating intellectual property, creating royalties, and the multiple ways you can do that. But also joint ventures. Joint ventures and collaborations are a way to bring the skills and the outstanding abilities of different people to work together for a common purpose. Now, SaaS is a joint venture because you're collaborating. Some of you might have found good business partners together, or joint venture partners or investment partners, or you find a property and I'll do it up, or whatever it would be. So joint ventures and collaborations exist throughout all of these areas. But if you can build your wealth in multiple streams, not just one, then whatever happens to whatever economy, whatever political party is in, whatever's happening with the world, you'll be inconvenienced only. You'd never be devastated. And this is how I've spent my entire life since 1989, learning how to do this and mastering this skill. And I'll be happy to share with you anything I know on how to do that today and beyond today, if you resonate with me. I want to talk more, but let's talk briefly about wealth builders for families. My big passion, I'm a granddad now, loving that. Thought I'd given up kids, but now I've, got kids' responsibilities of my own, at least my wife has, all I do is walk the dog. But how to be a great money role model for your children, teenagers, and young adults. Now, let's face it, there's a shed load of problems just waiting around the corner for our children living to 100. There's going to be a tsunami of money flowing from the baby boomers to the next generation. No wisdom to pass it on. There's going to be AI issues. There are going to be internet issues, comparison issues, comparison economics, the uncertainty they see everywhere in life, from wars to pandemics to interest rates, getting on the property ladder later and later and later, many of them turning to renting, student loans, which didn't exist in my day. All of those things are serving to conspire to make our younger generation the poorer for the first time than the generation before. I want to do something about that. And if you feel strongly about that, maybe you might connect. There's a petition out there at the moment, organized by the owner or the founder of Go Henry. So go check that out. The name's Louise Hill, and it's a petition to put financial literacy on the curriculum in schools. Now, one would argue whether schools are doing the right thing or not. Should it be taught in schools? Well, it isn't, but should it? Well, I would argue there's a role for it, but there's a much stronger role because we influence our children for so much longer as parents. If you think about it, my kids are, my eldest is 30 now. If you go from 5 to 30 in that influence, that's 25 years of influence. No school's going to do that. So to me, the best influencer is us. Secure your own oxygen mask first. Learn your own wealth plan, and then try and work out a plan that passes not just the money, but the wisdom to the next generation. And we're building an entire community around this now, people resonating with this, signing a declaration, as you can see. It's called the New Declaration of Independence. It's a family's declaration. It's free to participate. You can join our Facebook group. And yes, we're trying to get 50,000. So if you feel inclined to want to influence your children or grandchildren, or just relatives and children that you know for the better, then you can reach out and connect with me beyond today. But I'll promise you I'll do my best in the remaining time to give you as many insights as possible into any of the three things that I've talked about. So one of the things we're doing is we're playing games with our children. As you can see, these are not children. We're starting off playing games. We're doing it in London every month, called Cash Flow 101, which increases the financial IQ of the adults, which they then pass on to kids. And we've got a whole range of best practice things, games you can play with kids, ways you can get children to touch coins, younger ones, because they're just seeing money on tap, aren't they? Tap, tap, tap to get money. They don't have any realization of where money's really coming from anymore. So we're trying to do lots of good things to change the nature of the relationship between our children and money so they appreciate it. Guillaume, that's me in terms of just sharing with you some insights. I hope very much that we can kind of just finally say, I'm going to give you some free resources. So just for you. So I've got a video I did on Sky TV about the director's pension, I called it. They didn't want me to call it SAS on TV. They said that's too complicated. what's a better way said? It's called a director's pension. There's a guide for anybody in property why they should consider SaaS. The second book I wrote called The 7 Pillars of Wealth, basically describing those 7 things and what you can do about it. And that's free for anybody who's on this webinar or whatever you call this live session today through the link that you can see there. So if you want those things, just, you know, they're completely free of charge. But meanwhile, I'll leave that just for a couple of minutes and say thank you very much for your attention so far. And I'll be switching now to just being my live self without anything to offer other than maybe some knowledge or some wisdom I can share with you. Hopefully that helps. And if you could put the link in the chat box as well for me, Guillaume, that'd be...
Yeah, I'm just typing in now from the screen. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so these are quite interesting resources. One thing I really like about Kevin and the Wealth Builders is there's lots of little very clear frameworks, you know, so you talk about the 7 pillars of wealth, the 7 F's of property, and you had the buy, bridge, borrow. So it all kind of makes sense. And I know you build a lot of IP into all of this. And so it's very worthwhile downloading these resources and the ebooks and things, so you get immersed into these things. So it's quite interesting. So yeah, put your questions in the chat. Actually, I've got one question, Kevin, on SaaS. Are they attached to a company? So let's say one's got a business and they build all their SaaS, they bring their kids on it, their partners, etc. They are directors in the pot, and then they want to exit the business. They want to sell it. So can they port it somewhere else? Can they not have a business attached to it? So this is in the context of your, you being on a TV and calling it a director's pension, but you're not a director anymore, So
no, that's fine. So first of all, getting a SaaS is getting a driving license. So who can remember getting their driving license? You remember that? You took the test, you got a stamp to say you can drive a car. That's all you need. You get a stamp to say, I'm a business owner, so you need to have a limited company. Not being self-employed, not owning properties personally. You need a limited company. At least one person is a director of a limited company, okay? More people, doesn't matter, just as long as one person is. Secondly, you need a source of money. Probably £50,000 is about the right sum of money to start. And 3, you need a plan. Okay, so you need a private limited company, that's a P. You need a pension, either contributions that you can make because you're making profit. Any contribution you make to a pension scheme of SaaS is fully tax deductible. So you get no tax, you get tax relief on it. And any growth is completely tax-free. No income tax, no corporation tax, no capital gains tax, no inheritance tax, no tax. So it's a tax-free way to grow your money. So you need a pension to do that, and you need a plan. So what's the plan? What do you want to do? Now, most people don't know what to do because they've never had a SaaS before. So this is normally where I can answer questions about, well, what's possible? What does the government allow you to keep all of these proceeds tax-free, including lending money to yourself? So the award winner, so Toby Spanier, one of my clients, very simple but elegant pension strategy, had some money in a pension, found a dilapidated property in Dover, not mortgageable, right? So if it's not mortgageable, what's the problem? Can't get a mortgage on it, can't fund it. Loaned money from his pension to himself, bought the property in cash, got an interest-free loan from the council for 40 grand to fix it, and then put it into his portfolio and was getting £870 a month, and then refinanced it when it was fully done and paid the SaaS back. So the SaaS facilitated a growth of give or take £1,000 a month to their life on a pension that normally they couldn't touch till they're in their 60s. So these are some of the things that you don't know until you know. And I've been doing this since 2009. So I know how to create money, revenue, property from SaaS, whether it's commercial to residential, dilapidated properties, even residential properties, 2 types of residential property: exempt residential property, which is tax-free, and taxable property, which you can't do. So you can't do a buy-to-let, but you could do a children's home. You can't do an HMO, but you could do a barn conversion. Yeah, or you could buy an old bed and breakfast and turn it into apart hotels. So the more you learn about what you can do, the more you can work out whether your pension or somebody else's pension could play a role. Because even though your pension can't be used to buy, say, an HMO, somebody else's pension could, because they don't own the HMO. So you see what I mean? So in the bridge strategy where you lend money, so I could pick somebody who does HMOs. Anybody does HMOs? Just wave a hand at me. All right, Guillaume, I could lend to you.
But yeah, I've borrowed from SAS
right.
before, yeah. Mm.
Right. So and similarly, so you just take a look around the room and say, well, anybody in this room could lend to somebody else. So you could almost create a community of people helping people. So why look for a needle in a haystack? Build haystacks.
Awesome. So thank you very much for that. So I think knowing what you can and can do leads us quite well to the next question from Sam. Yeah. Can I lend out more than 50% of my SAS to someone that isn't myself? I.e., can I lend 75% to a property developer?
Yeah, there's no limit to how much you can lend. I don't know where the 50% keeps catching people out. There's no 50% limit on what you can lend to a third party. It's just 50% lend to yourself as a limit, but not to a third party. So stated differently, if I wanted to, not that I would want to, but let's just say I did, I could lend to somebody in this room, and if I had 200 grand, I could lend all 200 grand. Now, I'm not saying I should, but I could. The law doesn't prohibit that. And just, I didn't answer the second part of your question, Guillaume. I'm no longer a director. I sell my business. Doesn't matter, you've still got the license. So the limited company doesn't have to be in permanent existence for the SAS to be in permanent existence.
Awesome. Thank you very much for
that. It needs to be there at the beginning.
Okay. That's very interesting. Thank you. So then John, sorry, we've got Les asking, how safe are SAS? SASs, I think. How safe can you be trusted with your own money? I think is another way of saying it.
Well, I mean, I would say, you know, we heard Charlie Munger, who was the mentor for Warren Buffett, die this week. So to quote Warren Buffett, risk is when you don't know what you were doing. So if you can't trust yourself, don't have a SAS. You know, the idea of building wealth, you've got to trust yourself. I would rather trust myself than trust a third party, a financial advisor or a fund manager to invest my money when I can do it myself. So how safe is it? It's as safe as you are.
Awesome. John is asking me in a DM, so I understand that the limit to fund a pension fund is 60K per annum now. I read that with a SAS, it was possible to put it on a far larger sum to get things going. Could you explain more about this, as I cannot seem to find anything on the internet about it?
Yeah, that's fine. So you can't Google your way to SAS, right? It's just there's just not enough information out there. It's going to be written for legal accuracy. So in terms of funding, there are two aspects of this. Don't forget there are multiple people, up to 11 people. So you've got more options there. But each person has got a maximum of £60,000 per year. And you can go back 3 years. So technically you can put in them this year and go back and then come forward 3 years. So it's possible to put 4 years in one go. But if that wasn't enough, there's an exceptional case, which I won't go into the details of because it would be too technical, where you can put up to £500,000 in a single year and get the tax relief in the same year. Stated differently, if you put in £500,000, you get 125 grand's worth of tax relief back as a tax rebate. But that's exceptional businesses and doesn't happen in property businesses in the main, but does happen in businesses where they're making very healthy profits, but the directors didn't know about SAS. They discover it and go, bloody hell, I should have done this years ago. And then we can help them do that. But for the most part, SAS is worthwhile thinking about. So get it. If you've got 50,000 pension in your life, or you can put 50,000 in over a 12-month period, please get in touch and I'll share with you how you can massively influence how to make that money work so much harder for you.
Awesome.
I love it when meet people at lunchtimes when people show you on their camera what they're having. So what's Norman having? Is something interesting there? Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. It's really
looks really good, yeah.
yeah. Stop. I can't see what it is, but
so then we had another question from Mark. So I invest with a SIP, cash and shares. Can you have a SaaS too? Also,
yes.
is there an age limit on starting a SaaS?
No, there's no age limit. Everything a SaaS can do, a SIP can, no, wrong way around. Everything a SIP can do, a SaaS can do. But not everything you do in SIP is possible if you want to do property. But let's give you another example. I mentioned earlier on that SIPs are regulated. You need a platform, a fund manager, possibly even an advisor. When you add up the cost, when you're buying a retail product, remember the word retail, you're paying through the nose. If you've got a SaaS, you're a wholesale customer. It's like buying through Costco. You're buying directly through the wholesale pricing mechanism, so you're paying less for your funds. So even if you were just going to invest in funds, it's possible to be cheaper in a SaaS than a SIP. Plus, you can add a spouse or a partner. Plus, you can do property. Plus, you can lend money. Plus, you can hedge money. Plus, you could buy crypto. Plus, you could buy gold. Plus. I've never seen. I've done thousands of SaaSes in my career. I've done one SaaS to SIP. One. Because someone couldn't cope with it. They just didn't want to use it for property. They thought they were going to do property, didn't. They just wanted to do retail investments again, and they said no, we'll just do a SIP instead, which is fine. If all you want to do is do that, and you want somebody else to manage and delegate it, a SIP will be fine. Otherwise, a SaaS is almost always going to be better value for money.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much. Ed is asking, can you use property you are buying as a security for the loan back?
Which is exactly what Toby did in the example that I gave you.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
yes, the answer is yes.
Rishi is asking, does conceal loan interest-free money does conceal loans interest-free money to redo a dilapidated property? I think, yeah, it's conceal dependent, so you'll have different opportunities like this. So I've got quite a few friends who got grants in different forms, and it's very conceal dependent depending on the funding they have right now. So don't live in a bankrupt conceal is my advice.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Liz asking, SaaS don't allow residential investment though. So is that?
Well, it's not a though. I gave examples of two types of property: exempt residential property and taxable residential property.
Yeah.
So you can use a SaaS to buy a commercial property or piece of land or title split, and then turn it into residential. You can't use it to buy a buy-to-let, but you could use somebody else's money to do a buy-to-let, yeah. And then you could use your money for somebody else to use the buy-to-let. Creativity is the issue here. It's not what are the rules allow, it's how creative are you and how much do you want to understand. So if the only thing in your mind is I want to buy a buy-to-let, the only way you could do that is through the loan back. So you lend 50% to self and you could use that to do that. So you can do it. It's just you've got to learn some different rules.
Yeah, we've done that a number of times, borrowed from SaaS pensions to resi conversions, HMOs and stuff. So yeah. Ed is asking, can you do SA holiday lets with a SaaS?
Potentially, yes. It's all about shades of grey. When I have to look at each property on its merits, to see, but it's possible, yes. So again, go back to the idea. Do you have a private limited company? Do you have a pension? Do you have a plan? If any of those three things gel together, just get in touch and I'll help you individually understand whether you can do what it is that you want to do. Or, Guillaume, you've got a community. There's no reason at all why you couldn't organize a community that can help each other and support each other.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, to be fair, the likes of you guys have done it really well. So we tend to stick to what we're good at, So yeah, go and speak to Kevin. Nina is asking, can this be created when the pension is paying out or paid out? I'm not sure.
I'm not really sure the question. Do you unmute people, Guillaume?
Yeah, Nina, you want to come up just to clarify this if you're about?
Yeah, all I mean is, if you're already receiving your pension income rather than, and have been receiving it for several years, what can you do with that? Thank you.
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. So Nina, I mentioned earlier on that annuities you can't, but drawdown you can. So if you've got a pension and you're getting an income, but you've still got a fund value, yes, you can. If you converted the pension to an annuity, so what an annuity is life assurance upside down. So with life assurance, you pay a premium and you get a lump sum if you die. With an annuity, you give them a lump sum and then you get an income until you die.
Yeah.
If you've got one of those, you can't, because the deal's done, you don't own the capital anymore. Which means they own it and you can't pass it on to the next generation.
Right. So the pension's paying out, but they're managing it poorly. That's what I mean.
Right, okay. So that sounds, got it, Nina. That sounds like drawdown.
Drawdown, yeah.
Drawdown, yeah. And if you've got a limited company and 50,000 or more, get in touch and I'll show you how you can do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Chirag is asking an interesting question as well. Can this allow pooling of children under 18 SIP allowance?
Right, okay. So children cannot be trustees of any scheme until they reach the age of 18. However, everybody, even a 1-year-old, a newborn, 7-month-old, is entitled to a pension allowance, even though they're not a taxpayer, of 3,600 gross a year, so 2,800 give or take. So you don't need to pool the allowance, but you could create a SIP for your children if you want to. I mean, there are other products for children as well, from premium bonds to junior ISAs to lifetime ISAs and a whole range of different things, although lifetime ISAs are from age 18. But you can build a pension pot, build it, take advantage of compounding. And then when the children get 18, convert all that into a SAS. So you could do that. So you can, having whole families in a SAS is like having a giant trust fund, which means the pension never dies. And I think there's some beauty in that, because it allows a tax-free pot to transfer to the next generation, to the next generation, and to the next generation. So it's like what I call running a wealth relay race. You're trying to create a baton. Instead of being a 400-meter relay race, it's a 40-year relay race. You're working your wealth for 40 years, you pass it on to the next. And I want my, 5 generations, 200 years time, I want those generations to be toasting me, going, well done, Kev. Bank of Kev, you old bugger. Thanks very much for helping us. But give them permission to keep expanding and growing it, as opposed to just paying the money out and then the money dies or dissipates when it gets distributed on death. There's a world apart from making the money expand and grow and putting wisdom in than just paying the money out and seeing that die when something goes wrong.
Awesome. You like that Bank of Cave thing, huh? Didn't you?
Ah, yeah, you got me there. But you're not having the IP for it, okay?
Damn it. Should have trademarked it. Glenn's asking, so how do you find people with SASs and what are the criteria to get in front of them? And do you pitch, do you present? So if you've got projects, how do you go and get and borrow money from people with SASs?
Okay. And I think I saw something come and say, what if I don't have a pension? But don't forget there are other people's. So before you came to this session today, did you really know much about SAS? Maybe not. But now you know more. Just get the free resources, build your knowledge, because knowledge in this area will pay you dividends. Because if you meet somebody, and I can possibly send you another link on another day. Oh, okay, here we go. Go to my podcast. Sorry to plug, but it's free.
That's okay.
Which is called Wealth Talk. So wealthbuilders.co.uk/podcast. we've done 222 episodes, but you want to listen to number 74. And number 74 is how to be irresistible to private investors. Now, you'll learn the 5 ROIs that you need to learn. And if I've got time, I'll explain them to you. Depends on time. How long have we got, Guillaume?
So we got 10 minutes, but have you got more time, Kevin?
Yeah, I've got as much time as you want.
There's lots of questions, and I think it's quite interesting. So if you
listen to the 5 ROIs, I can send you, if you connect with me, you'd have to kind of request the resources and then send me an email or a LinkedIn message to say templates, and I'll send you 12 templates I created so that you can copy them, that you can create a compliant and compelling message so that you can reach private investors. Most people do this wrong. They do it wrong because they get the compliance wrong. They do it wrong because they go me instead of you. You know, I've taught many developers how to do that.
Yeah, get the resources, then you can reply to any of the emails you get and ask for the templates.
And I'll send them to you, right? So,
and I did get these a few years back, and you have to say it's really good. So yeah, to get take on this offer, it's quite valuable. So awesome. So Vikrant is asking, how much should one have in pensions to make SaaS worthwhile?
50 grand.
As a minimum? Yeah. Mrs. Ong is asking, how do you create fund a SaaS if you don't currently have any pension? Can I just put cash in?
I would say probably don't. Have a conversation with, if you've got a company, you've got to be making profit. So company contributions, tax deductible, make a profit, build your pension up. Lowest cost way to do it at the start probably isn't a SaaS, because a SaaS, it's a high performance vehicle. You need to be able to get in the car and drive it. If you've got a few £1,000s, you're not really going to have the fuel to make it work, certainly not in property. I would say get the lowest cost SIP you can get. If you don't know what that is, reach out to me and I'll tell you what it is. And then just build it up slowly. And then in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, come back and create yourself a SaaS. But learn the language, because you can have up to 11 people. So you might not have very much, but if you've got a spouse, a partner, a sibling, a business partner, a collaborator that you can work together with. So it isn't all about what you've got, it's about what other people have, which is why joint ventures is one of the 7 pillars.
Very good. Vikrant is asking, can SIP be transferred into a SaaS?
SIP can be transferred in a SaaS. It's really straightforward.
Yeah. I'm asking, I'm looking to joint venture and invest into projects, constructing blocks of flats. Can you please guide me on a few bullet points for how to protect my funds? We will agree on percentage shareholdings, roles and responsibility. What else shall the JV agreement cover? I think it's one of your ROI, or return of investment.
Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, look, there's a whole due diligence process that I can share in terms of the. Should I give you a quick summary, right? A quick summary. It's another one of my frameworks. You need to do due diligence on the 3 Ps, which is people, projects, paperwork. Okay, the people is ruthlessly look at the breadcrumb trail of anybody. Look on Companies House, look on LinkedIn, look on Facebook, look everywhere to see what they are, what they've done, what people are saying about them. If they've got a website, look at the website, look at their Trustpilot reviews, look, and don't stop looking. Now, I employ a terrier, somebody who works for me, who does all that, looks on everything, looks for every breadcrumb trail that's possible to find before I have a conversation with anybody. That's, and if you've got a business, we use Credit Safe that checks their balance sheet, how much they've got in the bank even, right? So we do all that. That's the people. The project is, but it's beyond the scope of this to talk about how to due diligence a project, but nonetheless, you know, if you're lending, you want to be looking at the security. You want to look at all the exit strategies, you know, all of the things that it's just too complex to go into in any detail. And then the paperwork is, one tip, don't allow the borrower to create the loan document, because they'll be written in their favor. You need an independent lawyer to create the legal document and make sure that it's written for you, not the other way around. Because when things go wrong, you're relying on a contract that says, well, they've got rights over things more than you because you're not a lawyer. Always use a lawyer. And if you're lending money, by the way, I'm doing a loan to someone at the moment. Who do you think's paying the legal fees on the loan?
The borrower.
Hands up who thinks it's me. Right? It's not me, but it's my lawyer, right? So my lawyer does the work, but they pay for it. And that's just the way it is. So these are some of the things if you're doing joint ventures. And, you know, I've done hundreds of joint ventures, never lost a penny. And it's because I'm really good at it, because I don't let anything get in the way of the due diligence. Not emotion, never emotion, and never speed. Somebody else is a rule I have, which is never get into somebody else's pressure cooker. Because you feel the heat straight away, don't you? I need the money next Tuesday. You need the money next Tuesday, I'm out. You know? So
yeah, that's really insightful. Thanks, Kevin. Silvio and Shana are actually asking the same question more or less in the same time. So can a SaaS have just one member, or can it be opened by one person?
Can we open by one? So minimum is one, maximum is 11.
Okay.
Most we've got in one scheme is 7.
Okay.
3 generations.
Yeah, so it's what you call the, what was it, the huge trust fund there. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, a multi-generational tax planning tool bar none.
Awesome. Actually asking, is there a time limit to pay back payments withdrawn from a SaaS?
5 years.
Okay. Ed,
That's if you lend it to self.
Yeah.
If you lend it to a third party, it's whatever the contract says.
Okay, interesting. Thanks a lot for that. Ed, if you are buying a commercial building and turning it into residential, at what stage do you need to get the SaaS fund back out of the property?
Okay, thank you for the question. It's technically known as the certificate of habitation. So in other words, before somebody could sit on the loo and flush it.
Okay, that's interesting. So you need to refinance before people actually go and live there.
Yeah, or you could sell it to a third party, you could sell it to yourself, to an SPV, or you could joint venture and collaborate it to a third party. There are many different strategies, but again, you can see I know more than I'm sharing, but that's just because that's what expertise is all about.
Okay, payments being made into a SaaS, does it save on any corporation tax?
Yes,
Yeah,
fully corporation tax relievable. So whatever you pay in, if corporation tax is 25p in the pound, if you put in 100,000, you're getting 25,000 pounds back as a tax rebate.
Yeah. Awesome. Harry.
Which is interesting if you think about it, right? Just say that out loud to yourself for a minute, right? 100,000. I know you can't put in 100,000 one go, but just hear the maths. 100,000 pounds worth of value.
Yeah, it's 25.
Cost me 75,000. Now, let's just say, for the sake of an argument, I did something simple with it. Somebody mentioned gold earlier on, right? And said, what about gold as an investment? Okay, we know it's not an asset, but let's just say, for the sake of an argument, I said, yeah, I want to buy gold. I want to buy 100 grams worth of gold bullion. I've got 100 grams worth of gold bullion. How much did it cost me? 75 grand.
Yeah.
So I've got a 25% discount on the price of gold.
It's even better than that, because you have all withdraw costs on your PAYE or your what is it, your I forgot the term, your dividends and so on, that also adds up on that. So
and you know, same property, you got a discount on the price of property because you're buying it with tax relieved money, not tax paid money. You're quite right. In order to have earned that money, you would have had to have paid the dividend tax or the salary tax, you know, for give or take 40%, say. So it's even better than that. So I know it sounds like I'm flogging this SaaS thing, but it's just really, really powerful. And even if it isn't relevant for you, at least you know about it. So you could collaborate with somebody else. who they've got 300 or 400 grand in a pension. You go, did you know there's this thing called a SAS? And then you can tell them about it. And if you tell them about it, then they could turn around and lend money to you. So you could convert your own clients, if you see what I mean. You could convert your own investors.
Awesome. Harry's asking, what is the cost to set up a SAS for, say, 2 or 3 members, and what are the ongoing fees?
Yeah, good question. Typically a couple of £1,000 set up. Typically about 1,000 a year.
Yeah, interesting.
Now, that's an interesting point, right? So say you build your SAS up and you've got, I'll use 400 grand again, or you use 500 grand. Say you get to 500 grand. If you were paying for advisors, platforms and fees and so on, you'd probably be paying nearly 2% on that. So you'd be paying, what's that, 10 grand a year in fees? SAS 1,000, because the pension goes up, but the fees stay pretty much the same, because it's not done on funds under management, it's done on administration. And the fees that the administrators I use are all fixed. So they're not, oh, you get paid to use this and you get paid to use that and you get paid, there are some SASs out there that charge by the hour, that charge by the transaction, that charge by the activity. You will always get a surprisingly high fee when you do that because you don't understand what you're going to need to do. Whereas we prefer, because we've been doing it a long time, and hopefully you've got a sense, my entire life is built trying to drive value for people, not just for myself. But commercially, yes, it's profitable, but driving the best value, and those fees are fixed. So typically 1,000 a year, could be a little bit more for a bigger scheme, 1,500 a year, but as low as 500 a year if someone's just got a stock market based or just going to do stock market and commercial property, it could be 500 quid a year.
Very interesting. Miss Ung and John are asking, how do I get in touch for an individual chat consultation, please?
Yeah, well, I think the thing to do there is just request the resources. And so if you repost the link, because I've stopped sharing.
All right, yeah, let me find it.
Then, or find me on LinkedIn, Kevin J. Whelan, or anywhere you want to find me. But just if you request the resources, and then when we send you an email with the resources, just reply saying, can I have a chat with Kevin or the team? I don't honestly have availability for lots of people every week, but I've got a team of people who do. So, and they know SASs inside now. But if it's something more complex, then I'll get involved. But generally speaking, my team are just great at this.
So someone is asking, so would I be correct in thinking that wealth builders don't actually set up SASs? Which company do you recommend for this then, please?
Well, there's a triumvirate here in SAS. In other words, the reason we can drive the administration costs down is we provide all the training. So in other words, we deliver a competent and compliant trustee to the administrator. So for that reason, we provide the training, they provide the admin, and you provide the plan. So I don't share who I'm working with in a public forum, because I don't want my administrators to be inundated, and certainly not inundated with people who don't know what they're doing yet.
Yeah, that's fine. Sharag is say, would that mean that can SAS be put into a trust?
SAS is a trust.
Yeah, that's exactly what John replied. Jane is saying, what if I don't have a pension? Is there any chance to set up SAS? I think we covered that earlier.
Yeah, you've got a profitable company, otherwise it's not for you. It's just one of the pillars that isn't for you, right? Concentrate on the other ones that are.
Glenn's asking for the link. I just popped it again. John, I think that's the right link here. John, ROI, return on intellect, return on investment. I think you've got quite a few ROI in your IP, which I think is a very good resource. So do download and have a look at that.
I've got 12 ROIs, Guillaume. 12
ROIs. It's quite impressive when you see it the first time. And I love this kind of stuff, with clever play on words and acronyms, and I think it's very clever.
The way I do it is because I'm a teacher by nature. So it helps, buy bridge, borrow bank, although I didn't do bank today. Easy to remember, easy to teach, easy to share. The 3 Ps, the 7 pillars. Yeah, there's just everything I do is about how easy is it to teach. And the 5 ROIs you'll get from the podcast number 74.
So I'm responding to Naim. Noaman who DM'd me with something. Felix is asking, I have some money in my pension pot, but not much. Is there a minimum amount? So yeah, we cover that, 50K and above. Jenny, what would you do with ISAs? Would you leave them or create or convert into SaaSes?
Well, it's an interesting question. Look, there are pros and cons of everything, no matter how thinly. Whatever argument you give, there are two sides. Always. ISA, right? Let's just quickly do pros and cons. ISA, it's liquid.
Yep.
It's immediately available. You've got a nice allowance of 20 grand a year, and you can use innovative ISA, which is a very clever way to do ISA these days. Much more free and flexible than cash ISAs and stocks and shares ISAs. So that would fall under pillar number 3, which is investments, if you recall.
Mm-hmm.
A pension pillar number 2 is only worth doing if the benefit of the tax relief is bigger and better than the benefit of losing liquidity. And I would say generally, if I've got an ISA, I'm not moving that into a SaaS because I want to keep that flexibility. If I've got what you want to move into a SaaS is something that's tax efficient. So have you got a company? Yes. Pay contributions from your company because tax relievable. Have you got an existing pension? Yes. Move that in. So you've got contributions plus existing pension, plus a third party, as I said, brother, sister, family member, pull them together. So you've got ways to think about money that's underperforming. Whereas ISA, it's liquid, it's tax-free, it's not a trust fund, can't put ISAs in trust, but still really good value, provided you're not paying a fortune. And that's when you come back and just pay lowest fees, lowest fees, lowest fees. Go passive, not active, and low fees. It's the only thing you can control.
Yeah, so you need to build it to big enough pot to make it worthwhile, and then it becomes a no-brainer in it. So Rishi is asking, if I open a SaaS today with 50K, how soon can I access it? Kevin, can you then recommend a good SaaS administration? So we talked about this, yeah. So how long does it take to set up, basically, and how long before you can access it?
4 to 5 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the time you do the learning. So that when the SaaS is done, you already know what you're going to do. You've already got the plan. Money lands. Boom. You've got a plan to deploy that money as quickly as possible. See, I meet so many people, as why we've got our training suite, who've got SaaSes. They found a way to do SaaS in a sort of a DIY way.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know what they were doing. Their money gets stuck because they don't know what to do. And then they pay through the nose because they've got a SaaS that's charging them by the hour. It's counterintuitive when you know what you're doing. So, I would just say, find somebody you resonate with. If you resonate with me, that's great. Connect with me. If you don't like my style, find somebody else. But just find out about SaaS, because it's going to be good for you to know about, even to dismiss it, but good that's in the brain. So when you meet somebody else who it could be fit for, you can either help them or you can help them to lend money to you.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thanks so much. So we had two last questions. So one was, how much does it roughly cost? So Kevin mentioned a couple of grand basically to set it up.
A couple of £1,000. Yeah.
And then Tim said, can a SaaS be on more than one name? So we said yes, from 1 to 11 earlier. And thank you, John, for participating and answering the question. Thank you so much, Kevin, for sticking with us a bit longer. Any closing sentiment or things you want to mention whilst we're here? And then I'll bring this to a close.
That's a good question. And I would say, look, it's a complicated, troubled time out there. Find ways to be as creative as possible, because you get rewarded in wealth for your creativity and for the distinctions that you can make. So I'll give you an ROI, a final ROI in parting, Guillaume. One you may not have heard. You are only one relationship, that's R, opportunity, that's O, an idea, that's I, from a complete transformation in your wealth or your business if you're a business owner. So when cheeky people, which they often do, Guillaume, say to me, well, Kevin, you look a bit, wised and wizened. Why are you still working? It's because every day I discover somebody else to build a relationship with, or to share an opportunity or an idea with, that puts a smile on my face and makes me feel like I'm adding value. So I'm going to keep doing this until they drag me out of my SaaS box. I'm just going to keep doing this because I'm very passionate about it. And if I can make a distinction, like snakes and ladders, get you on the ladder, or get you on the snake, I will do that. Whoever you are and wherever I meet you. So just reach out if you resonate with what I'm saying and how I'm saying it. Just reach out, say hi. One day our paths will cross in a networking meeting, or just I share an idea with you and you think that's useful, or you like the podcast and share it with somebody else. Pay it forward and embrace the ideas of others. Don't just stick with what you know, because what you know will keep you where you are. What you expand to is where you grow.
That's really awesome, Kevin. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today on the Deal Finder Corner. Visit propertyfilter.co.uk, log on to your Property Filter account, check out the deal blueprint where you can define your goldmine area, engage with motivated sellers, assess properties in seconds, and finally load your pipeline and make deals. Have an endless supply of deals. Join the top 1% and become a high achiever deal finder. I hope you enjoyed today's Deal Finders Corner like I did, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Thank you for the thank yous in the chat. Have a good one. Bye-bye.